What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the LCS Lock-In Tournament. That one caught me a little off guard there, if I'm being honest.
Let's go.
I heard myself breathe in my own microphone, and I was like, oh, we're live. Okay, I'm Dash. These are my analysts. I've got Mark, Raz, and Emily to kick things off. This is the waiting room. You already know how it works at this point. You know, we jump around the community conversation that's been kind of happening throughout the week, and we weigh in on it. But most of the time, we're going to be pulling straight from your commentary at home to figure out, you know, where we want to go with that discussion. First and foremost, though, we got to talk about patch. It's patch 12.2 coming into this weekend. We've already seen some games played in other regions, but of course not yet here in the LCS.
Mid-brackets changes.
We've got this here tweet, which I think pretty nicely sums up, you know, a grand overview of a number of the adjustments, buffs, and nerfs made. Mark, what are you thinking?
I mean, first thing that jumps out is Senna. They basically put Glacial Augment on her Q.
There it is.
They're like, man, she really misses that. Let's just give it back.
Right.
So that made her really strong. You saw her already in the LEC. If you were watching earlier, you can expect to see
We saw her in the LCS last week.
She was already getting a little bit of play.
Exactly.
Cool.
And now
Danny
she's
was playing
stronger.
it.
Yeah.
So watch out.
Yeah, expect to see a lot more Senna. I think that's the first thing that really jumped off to me, given that we're already seeing it a decent amount.
Yeah, and then the Janna, I know, for example, Laurela's been spamming the Smite,
Oh, God.
the Smite top tech. I think we might not see it in top lane, but we definitely will see it in bot lane. It's already seen play in LEC. It's seen play in LCK as well with Glacial Augment. So.
Yeah, and for me, Tom Kench is an interesting one because they are putting him back as a support. He is just not a solo laner anymore. The gray health has just been tanked if there are not two other people in the lane.
Put him in the trash can.
Exactly. Hey, but it's perfect timing. Senna Tom Kench is back.
No.
There we go. Is it the Soda
why not?
Tarek era?
I was looking forward to like all of these like super strong, like Caitlyn Lux is back, like Lucia Nami, and then like Senna Tom Kench. Okay.
That's what we're here
It's
for.
back.
That's what we're here
How
for.
are we?
Yes.
I'm not.
I'm not here for it.
You know what I'm sad about in this patch too?
What are you sad about?
Talon's jungle damage getting nerfed.
Yeah.
Because we didn't even play him in North America. I did so much research on First Strike Talon in the jungle. I think it's such a cool idea because most people think about poking with First Strike, but it's actually, you can get a ton of damage if you do a burst up front in a team fight. And so I was like, I can't wait to talk about this. Well, I guess I won't.
Yeah, I mean, it's hilarious because during off-season, a lot of the junglers were trying to figure out what's just the strongest on the patch, and they kind of gravitated a little bit more. I remember watching a few Speaker streams, and it was like Zed Talon, right? Maybe these are the strongest. And then of course it went towards the Jarvan era, but you're like, maybe they're gonna come out. Nope, boom, they're both nerfed. Zed's ulti got heavily nerfed. So we ain't seeing that brother again. He's put back into the bin.
Well, while there were a slew of changes to champions, as we saw kind of across the board, there's also this big piece of news, and we're jumping to a tweet from our very own Doublelift here. Props to Riot, listening to the community in the pro scene and removing Chemtech Drake. I think they have the thankless task of trying to balance the game while keeping things fresh and new. They acted quick on this one, and I really like this tweet because I think it's important to recognize that fact, right? That a lot of feedback was given, but that feedback was also listened to.
I mean, the best part for me was when we were talking about on the dive, and Azale brought up the fact that, like, think about other game communities. Like, if there's a bad mechanic added to a new expansion in the game, that's in there for 2 years usually. Like, so Riot designers acknowledging that people are not enjoying this, even though it was probably balanced. If you look at like win rate numbers with it in Hex, it wasn't like that crazy broken. It's totally a feeling thing, and so props to them for owning up on that.
Yeah, it was a conversation for a very long time, so I'm interested to see what happens, you know, if it comes back and all these things, like what will end up happening. It is funny, though, on the patch in which it was removed, Rengar comes back, hey, the camouflage changes, and where to go?
Senna!
There we go. Pair that one up. Whipple's going to be happy if he ever gets a Senna on his team there.
Well, given this massive news, before we dive further into today's waiting room, we did want to take a moment to mourn the loss of Chemtech Drake, surrounded by everyone who wanted to come pay their respects.
Oh, there's no one.
You got like a janitor in there anywhere? Even they dipped out, you know?
Where
Like,
did they go?
They keep pulling out. I was waiting for like maybe the back row.
Yeah.
You know, you see a couple heads pop in, people mourning.
no
the loss,
one mourning.
No.
I
Nobody
heard the
mourning
after
the loss.
party's great, though. Everyone's popping off.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Hey,
Going
Chemtech
straight to
died.
the reception.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. All right, well, another funeral might be in order today, though. If Bjergsen has anything to say about it, I want to take a look at this shot here up ahead of his match today.
Well, we all look forward to seeing you take them on in the next round of play. And on behalf of everyone, once again, I would like to say welcome back to the stage. And thank you so much for this interview, Bjergsen.
Thank you. I'm going to kill Biofrost.
All right. That's what you heard, everybody. Biofrost going to be dying the next time they take to the Rift.
So, first of all, I just love that moment. Brilliant. Totally unprompted. Goes for it. But the follow-up as well on Twitter was phenomenal. We have Biofrost himself tweeting at the Los Angeles FBI.
Los Angeles.
LCS following up, notifying our very own FBI, and then Bjergsen, of course, clarifying in case anybody was misinterpreting what he said in-game.
Only when they were catching on to
In-game.
his trail on that one.
Yeah.
Especially when the FBI is notified. It's like, all right, just in game.
I want to know who's manning the Los Angeles FBI Twitter account and like what their response was to this random
Someone
tag.
had to actually go through that. And be
Someone
like,
saw that.
Be
Exactly.
Like, what is this?
I had to like verify the threat, please. you know, whatever. Between these two gamers over there in West Los Angeles. All the jokes aside, this is a pretty fun matchup, and again, I think kind of speaks to what will be, I think, for a lot of players who exist in the LCS, a meaningful matchup to go back up against Bjergsen. Again, obviously these two guys former teammates from way back in the day as well.
Yeah, I mean, they won championships together.
Right.
And so I think for Dignitas, it's a huge pickup for somebody who has the experience, who've been in those big moments before, right? When you're flanked with new players that honestly haven't even been in a state in an arena with fans there because of how COVID's kind of permeated, you know, current competitive. So it's big for Biofrost to be there, and it's that revenge tour. I'm back. Like, yeah, at least Bjergsen was coaching since then. Biofrost has been streaming a little bit, so it's fun to see these, I guess, new rivalries.
I'm excited to see how Dignitas does after the upset over 100 Thieves, because I feel like a lot of people, even myself a little bit, is like waiting for the other foot to drop, and then it's like, oh, they were never that good. 100 Thieves got fluked. It was unlucky.
Yeah.
Dig's not good, but like I hope Blue does well. I hope Biofrost and Neo keep doing well and actually challenge Team Liquid in this series, so that way it's not just written off in that kind of way.
So in your analogy, it's better for Team Dignitas to only have one foot and never let
Well,
second
if
The
foot.
community has
fluff
one
on your
foot.
foot.
Dig has two.
If you have fluff on your foot, it's probably
Dude,
better
this
off.
carpet it's like
Yeah,
it's like
it's
shedding all
everywhere.
over
It
the
is
place,
shedding
all right?
quite a
It's not
bit.
me.
You
Now,
have nice white shoes,
Mark,
so I can see everything.
okay, yeah, actually, so do we keep this carpet? What's the verdict on this carpet?
Keep it.
You like it? You're a fan?
Pose it to the people.
What does everyone at home think?
Fluff at 'em.
Want some lint?
You mentioned the massive upset by Dignitas over 100 Thieves to earn themselves this best of 5 in a semifinal. Obviously, one major component of that is River joining the squad. And Emily, I know you, much like all of us, wildly excited about this guy's addition to the LCS, but also impressed by how seamlessly he came in so immediately.
Yeah, I mean, I think he set Dignitas up for success really well, and they also identified on 100 Thieves what they could attack. So, you know, Blue had a really strong performance in mid to kind of keep Abadaga down, and Abadaga looked like he had a little bit of an off day, and then they attacked the bot lane, right? Like, they made sure that they did not have a pushing bot lane. And so one thing River is excelled at in PCS when he was on PSG Talon was playing around strong pushing lanes and knowing where he needed to be during those times. And I think you saw it here in their win against 100 Thieves. Like, it's not anything super revolutionary. It's just good, solid play.
Yeah, I think the fact that he had 2 days of practice, I think they said, with the team shows like how much of this is probably on him. You know, like just having an intuitive understanding of where he wants to go on the map and how best to attack them. Yes, there's this game plan that they were going for, but it wasn't like some insane communication you assume that like they were like, oh, in 2 waves, come here, I'll have this wave prepped. You know, like they're all so new together that I think it was just shows his potential and how much further they can go if they all get on the same page.
Exactly. And I mean, they're getting into 20 minutes of these games and they're even versus like some of the best teams in 100 Thieves. And of course, yes, they ended up beating them 2-0. But the fact that they're able to get to that point and you get to start to realize the other players on that team, like Neo. Like Neo had an incredible series.
Yeah.
But if you look last split, they couldn't even get to that point without being 5K down the hole, right? So like, it's finally feels like you can start celebrating these players' ability to play team fights well.
Yeah.
Against some of these teams. So I just hope that Dignitas keeps that trajectory up.
I mean, trajectory, the improvement they've already made, it kind of opens up for me another discussion about like how you might evaluate or consider, there's always that conversation, who won the offseason, right? Is winning the offseason achieving the first place roster, the best roster, or is winning the offseason creating the biggest delta between your previous split and current split?
That, but also looking at how much you spent to get there, right?
Yeah.
Because
So investment does matter.
Exactly.
Okay.
Because even if, let's just say, Dignitas was much better this split, if they had paid far more, then yeah, like it really does depend on what you're going for. So right now, I mean, it looks like, I don't know what their budget is, that they're kind of hitting the same thing, and they're just looking better.
Well, Jorge seems to agree with you here in the sense that, getting River Blue, they're probably getting a lot more than what they paid for. I don't actually know exactly what each of those guys' contracts cost, but obviously, one of the less expensive rosters as compared to something like Team Liquid. And so far, the value, at least in lock-in, has been through the roof.
Exactly, right? For Blue, someone's coming from SK, and a lot of people weren't really high on him, right? Because of the poor performances in both splits. And then for River, coming from the PCS, where that region, players constantly, you would hear during the offseason, they want to join the LCS, they want to join the LPL, they're constantly looking for a region to come in. And so finding that opportunity, River, of course, jumps for it. So for sure, these are great pickups for Dignitas, and, must be coming at a cheaper price.
I think for me, that's all great, the whole investment angle and like Delta, like you're talking about Dash, but like
Yeah.
the fan side,
Winning is all that matters.
Yeah, like they don't care.
Yeah.
They might, like, really intense fans care, but generally speaking, you want to watch the best team play. Like that's the team that gets the most fans. And so in that sense, I do think there are a lot of things that GMs can kind of hang their hats on of like, oh, I had a good offseason, this turned out better than fans expected. But at the end of the day, people like Team Liquid hucking their wallets around, just beaming people in the head with it, are going to feel even better, to the fans especially.
Yeah.
I mean, on the reverse side, though, if you spend a ton of money and people know that, and then your roster doesn't win, that's also where winning
is
matters
riskier,
even
true.
more, I think, because, like, for a team like Dignitas, they've already surpassed expectations. People are already talking about them, like, way more than we expected. But if TL had come and failed, I mean, I think you could have considered the fact they've had to trade their roster around so much, but
Look,
Yeah.
as you mentioned, people are talking about him, and you know it's a success when you've got Core JJ as well talking about that
Or
addition to your
Santorin.
roster. River knows what is
to
the
that,
most important
man.
in the game. It's really fun to watch a good jungler playing. And then Dom coming in to tag Santorin. I'm so sad my support doesn't like me. Again, for me, it's just the saga or just the journey that is Core JJ's timeline is one of the most fun things to track. But
It's great.
It's amazing.
continuing to also see kind of the banter and the lightheartedness within the league and the teams themselves. Santorin, though, up against River today. Like, that's going to be a sick matchup, I think, to really get a sense of where River is.
Well, and I think if you're looking at consistency, obviously Santorin and Bjergsen are the only two pieces on this TL roster that haven't been taken out. I think Santorin has been like quietly very, very consistent and kind of a rock around which they've been able to move these pieces. I also think that, again, River's strengths in knowing like where he needs to be in relation to his lanes. An experienced veteran jungler like Santorin should at least be able to track him a lot better and perhaps take advantage of some of his pathing, which was very deliberate, but not the most efficient it could have been.
Exactly. I mean, he ended up winning the player of the series in the last that they played. And a little bit of it was because they ended up swapping so many players. So it's like, okay, who's the most consistent one still playing in the series? But also he performed well throughout it, right?
Yeah.
So like, this is going to be a fun one to just kind of watch and see how Santorin fares versus, or just, how River fares versus Santorin.
Dignitas themselves tweeted out about 20 minutes ago that they've got some secret tech to bring into the matchup today. I don't know how
Is it the Smite Gen at top?
it's right there on the screen next
Looks
to you,
like a
Mark.
horse.
Feel free to take a look at it. Use your eyes!
It's so far left. I'm looking at you. I can't. This is like my vision stops.
Broadcast awareness. I don't know what to make of this. Does this mean that there's going to be a lot of Hecarim played? What really is the tech here?
They're trying to get them off the trail or bait a Hecarim ban. Don't do it, TL. It's fake news.
Team Liquid
Or is that just
the
the commentary that, Team
Yeah.
Liquid is the horse?
Oh.
Hecarim has arms. He's a centaur figure, you know? He's not just a horse.
That is
I
correct.
don't think it's the Hecarim angle.
Well, so then what is this?
Hey, you know
I
who
have
was
no idea.
previously on that organization?
Help me understand, Mark.
Dignitas
JJ.
social media sometimes is just left with question marks, and that's all I can say.
Okay.
They've been killing it in their interviews, though, where they've had like their academy players interview each other, and
Yeah.
then when we couldn't get the interview on screen, they had them interview each other, and it was hilarious.
There we go.
Actually, you should check people should go check those out. 'Cause
Absolutely,
they're really
yes.
funny.
They got good content there. And I was saying, the person who was previously on that organization, Lorlo, is spamming the hell out of that Smite Flash. It's not even just Janna. Karma.
Do
Think
it
of
all.
Rakan,
Whatever.
Boom.
Gragas.
Bard. No.
Okay.
So,
Speaking
yeah,
of
maybe.
top lane, let's talk about a top laner who's known for his creativity and, in fact, brought Rengar to the top lane for us last week. And if anybody might bring out a Janna in the top lane, I think it might be Bwipo. Granted, I'm not sure Team Liquid will need to reach for something like that to find success. We've got a Reddit comment thread here that points out Bwipo's confidence. He seems super confident here
Yep.
on Team Liquid. He also just seems super confident.
And confident.
life.
Whipper is super confident.
He's confident.
And Bwipo,
Yeah.
confident. Bwipo.
I mean, he has a reason to be. He's been styling on the LCS so far.
Yeah,
Sometimes
yeah,
he's
right?
died a lot, but like he died a lot with confidence.
Yeah.
I've never seen him more confident.
Doesn't make the thread not right. Yeah,
Yeah, he was like that when he swapped to jungle too. Like it did not matter as long as he was helping his lanes. Like he does not care if he's dying.
And he had that interview that came out, I think today or yesterday. I'm sorry, I can't remember who did the interview. I just saw it on Reddit recently. But it was about like, one of the ways he approaches the game is that in practice, people want to get very repeatable things off that you want to do over and over so you get really good at them. Same game states, same champion picks. And his mythology on it is just like, get rid of that. Just get something totally crazy in there. I've played Singe 50 times. You've played it 3 times. Now you're knocked out of that comfort zone that you've been practicing on over and over again. And so like that is something that you can really see manifest in him more than a lot of players in the LCS.
Yeah, I mean, even speaking to what Emily just said as well, which is like, he did this when he played jungle. You expect someone who's coming into, when I say new role, I mean something they're just kind of coming back into it.
Right.
It's like, okay, spamming the meta. Nope. When he came into the jungle, he's like, not a lot of people in the LEC are playing Karthus. Boom, I'm playing a lot of Karthus. Or he's like, he just has his own kind of read because he's very thoughtful. And of course, instantly, even when he was playing Graves, we spoke
Yep.
about it when
Lethality,
happened.
yeah.
On the
lethality
lethality
build.
Graves. And so now people are like, this makes a lot of sense. The Scion. And of course, the Rengar. Like these type of things that he just picks out because he believes in them and he just follows through with it. Definitely helps you learn faster. Because if it fails, you know why it's failing. You kind of track back through your own like theory of what got you to the first place. And I think he's been definitely this quickest learner and instantly I think the best top laner in lock-in. So I'm interested to see, boom, him versus Summit. I want it now.
You're a week ahead.
Yeah, I was
You're
like,
too
I don't know when they
early.
play.
Give it to me.
I appreciate the want. I cannot provide that for you here today, so you'll have to wait just a little bit longer, Raz. There is that comment on failure. I think is really important, and it does kind of bleed into a much larger conversation that I know at least Mark, you and I have had plenty of times throughout our years, just backstage around practice environments. And I've always taken the stance of like, I want to see people try and break the meta more often, right? But there is that balance between having a finite amount of time, as well as working with whatever the given landscape of League of Legends the game is at that moment, where yes, some champions just are better than other champions at any given moment in League of Legends, but that I've always taken the stance, being on the outside of the organizations, that too often, or not often enough rather, teams are not trying to break the meta. Find that pick that's just going to nullify all the meta things, or just give them that week or 2 weeks advantage over everyone else.
I think it also depends on scrim environment and who your scrim partners are, because some scrim partners will not appreciate you bringing
Just
out
trying a crazy
certain-
thing.
Yeah, and so like actually that's where I'm gonna give a nod to. I know the environment that C9 wants to establish is being able to have a team within. And like it's actually so huge to be able to have a team internally that you can be like, you know what, John the Smite top. We know it works in solo queue. Can we bring it out?
Give it a shot, right? Mark?
Yeah, we played against Dignitas back in the day. I don't know if you were coaching them during this time, but they ran 5 teleports in every position.
Well, that was a meme.
And
but I wish it was
I had
now.
enough of that scrim block pretty quick.
First and last time you
Yeah.
ever scrimmed dig. Yeah.
But no, like there are certain things. Like a good example of it now is just like Darshan had an idea for like Trinimir versus Soraka because that's when we were seeing a lot of Soraka tops.
Yeah.
And then guess what happens? If a team's like doesn't like that in the first game, banned for the rest
banned
of the
for the
pod.
rest of it, and you
You're
don't
just
even get to
like,
practice
come
at
on,
that point,
guys.
right? Yeah.
That happens. Yeah.
Obviously, they're all imperfect situations. Everyone's just doing their best. But either way, that's enough out of waiting room. We're going to dive into our first best of fives of 2022 as we kick off the day with our semifinal series. Welcome back to the LCS lock-in tournament, where I really hope that you all caught just the tail end of Raz's version of
sure
the
they did.
LCS.
It was
opening here.
fantastic.
If not, I have been pushing internally for weeks now to get that recorded
Nope.
and published
Okay.
as an alternate version.
Not happening,
So
Dad.
I'm still going to campaign for that with the rest of 2022 in front of us. But with the final week of lock-in upon us, let's go ahead and pull up our bracket and see how things stand. We're all the way down to just 4 teams remaining. Is Dignitas versus Team Liquid. They're jumping onto the stage today. We follow that tomorrow with Evil Geniuses versus Cloud9. Of course, the winner of each of those will go head-to-head in our final to see who will beat the second ever lock-in champions. Now, ahead of Dignitas QNTMPAY's series, though, against Team Liquid, you can stand up, Mark.
Oh,
Our boy Mark Z is going to break down
Thank you
some
for the
impressive vision tech from River in this week's State Farm Neighborhood Tactics. Mark, take it away.
Thank you very much, Dash.
You're
now,
welcome.
I've been talking about this all week, so you might have already seen me talk about it a little bit, but I just have to hit it again heading into the matchup versus Team Liquid. It's Rivers playing around other teams' vision control, not his own, but what the other team is doing. So here in this clip, there's a ward put down outside the Baron pit, which is often used to scout out J4 hopping the wall into River. Here, River just does the very basic Red Raptors gank mid and burns Abadaga's flash. And River is so good about playing around enemy team's vision and what they're trying to do. So Closer punishes him by taking the Krugs and the Raptors. But during this time, this is now when River jumps into the pit. He skirts the wall through there by the Scuttle Crab vision and gets into top lane to kill Someday, despite the fact that they had a deep ward right there and there was Closer recalling. So it was a very unlikely situation that somehow River got into that position, but he still managed to pull it off. He continues punishing bad wards. Here, when he skirts into this brush, Abadaga is flashless. There's no way Abadaga is bad enough to walk up to where he just saw, a J4 walk into. So obviously, he was able to sneak into that situation. And then one of the final ones I thought was so impressive is when you kill a ward, there's a little bit of lingering vision, and he EQs away, instantly turns back around. So anyone from 100 Thieves who's watching this minimap is going to see him shoot down River, when in reality, he just turns around, goes right back mid, repeat ganks Abadaga again, and gets so much pressure down on this mid lane and is all over the map, affecting plays, and just gives them this early game lead that we were talking about in the waiting room about how they were not falling behind in these games because of River's proactivity.
Yeah, and this is like exactly what you were talking about previously in waiting room with how River communicates with his laners, and the vision usage around it was super impressive.
Yeah, and this is in game 2 now. One of the things that 100 Thieves was doing was contesting his red buff. He swept out a ward. He always starts red sweeper on the J4. And then from here, he doesn't think that they might have any other wards. And so when he goes up here, he takes the Krugs and actually wraps back around through bot lane. We're talking about him attacking enemy team's win conditions. He realizes that the biggest threat he wants to get to is FBI, and he takes the path that he thinks will have the least chance of being warded out by the opponent. So if there was a ward on the red or in that Krug area, not actually, excuse me, the Raptor area, he could have got back around through bot lane for that gank. So River is just incredible about playing around vision control, and in this situation, he will need to continue to do it. See how this style evolves going up against Team Liquid today and Santorin in particular.
This is clean. Makes it look too easy, honestly. Finding that path of least resistance where the wards would serve as that kind of resistance for teams. And that does set up what I think is just such a spectacular jungle matchup, because River, in his own right and individually, he performed to a high degree in our first look at him here on the LCS stage. But you take a look at the stats on the other side and just the player that we know Santorin to be as his opponent. And my goodness, what a treat of a jungle matchup we have today, Raz.
Yeah, and I mean, just taking a spot look at River's stats here, specifically the kill participation, it just goes to show it's highest in the league. The fact that if there is a kill happening on the map, as you've already seen in your look through, it's because River is there. And so it's keeping the game stable for the team. I think once they get a little bit more comfortable with how they're laning, then they will take more chances. But there are definitely times, you showed the highlight plays, there are definitely more boring instances where he's just covering a lane and killing vision for bot lane to allow them to lane and get a slight advantage. That happened in both of the games versus FBI and Huhi. So like, great props there to River, and I hope we get to see more of that today.
And I think while River has kind of rightfully been the focal point of Dignitas in the last week as an individual star, it's not like their success came without the stepping up of a number of other people on the team, most notably Neo and Blue.
Yeah, and I mean, Neo, we talk about how strong his team fighting is, and we're going to see multiple examples of that. But the other thing that kind of impressed me about him and Biofrost is they were able to recognize in their laning when they could capitalize on 100 Thieves' backs, right? So in keeping that pressure on the 2v2 and making sure that 100 Thieves were not having that automatic pushing bot side that they're used to having, Neo's understanding of, again, like just when to push the lane when recalls happened was really great at capitalizing on when 100 Thieves had to reset.
Yeah, I think the 4% there is a standout for me because back when he played with Afro, they tend to play further back in lane for easier gank setup. But here, Neo's showing a different style, playing more aggressively with Biofrost in lane and actually trying to push their advantages.
And he doubled down on the fact that they did that against 100 Thieves, a bot lane that is normally known for having their own very high forward percentage.
Yep.
And again, they just took down what was the #1 team from Summer and what a bot lane that was lauded as possibly the best in the LCS, maybe up against Sven and Vulcan.
Exactly, and if you're a Dignitas fan, you should be excited about this split because last split, it felt like it was very volatile, what was happening on the map. Not in their favor, if people remember what happened with Impact dominating on that record-setting game versus Dignitas. But like, their early games were incredibly volatile, and they would fall behind, and they would really require Neo and Afromu to perform, right? And just to be that rock on in the map. Right now, Blue's been consistent. River's been a blessing. Fake Gods understood his kind of role on the team as a facilitator on weak side, and he's been doing good at that.
Yo,
now,
he had that
lane.
Renekton Rift Herald fight. Don't forget about that one, right? Yeah,
True.
like he had his moment in that
True.
series.
And even though we have a small sample size, what I can say consistently about this team is that their early games have for sure stabilized. So it makes these games coming up now and in week 1 exciting to watch.
I mean, so again, across the board, Dignitas has surprised and impressed us here in the early parts of the season. That said, as they took down 100 Thieves last week, they're going to have to do it again today against another Titanic team in Team Liquid. Made all that much more difficult, I think, by the fact that you're never quite sure who exactly you're going up against, at least right now when it comes to the Team Liquid squad. 3 different rosters have been played for Team Liquid in the lock-in tournament so far. You can see those iterations up on your screen now, and obviously, most of the changes centered around the bot lane with that top laner having to swap in and out as well in order to make some of those changes happen.
Yeah, and I think for this series, they're starting out with that top line that you see there. I personally felt like that was their strongest lineup just watching so far through the lock-in tournament, so I'm not surprised to see them start with that one. Ayla was popping off on his Thresh. We'll have to see if they knock him off that or if he's going to get that again, but that was what really stood out to me about this composition was everyone was contributing so much in their wins.
I do not envy being like the management for Team Liquid, right? Because all
Really?
3 of the... Well,
I feel like
actually,
you're very happy to be in a position where you're like, I can play any
We have
one
too many
of
good
But now you
players.
gotta choose one and succeed, you know?
I would have
Like-
imagined. That the Bradley instance would have been the weakest one.
Yeah.
But it wasn't. He performed. So,
7 kill Akali.
yeah,
He's
so, like,
great.
they're all doing well, and you got to make the decision at some point
Yeah.
which one's going to be the consistent one.
Okay, I do understand that. From that, like the human perspective of having to tell somebody they don't get to play, you know, and you're like, you're playing really well,
place
but
problem.
also we're gonna play this
Yeah,
other team,
exactly.
this other version instead. Yeah, it's been phenomenal to watch that bot lane, and then obviously you mentioned the fact that the top lane kind of shifts around. I do want to just call Blippo up one more time. It feels almost difficult to talk about Team Liquid because you want to touch on every piece of it. And we just went through a whole intro, and we never even got to Bjergsen. And we're going to be ending here on Blippo, but I think rightfully so.
Yeah, and I think I loved what Mark brought out about how Blippo wants to play the lane, how he does not mind dying, and how he purposefully makes things incredibly volatile and difficult for his opponents to respond to. Because with the rest of Team Liquid, especially like Santorin, we talk about them being like very steady, right? And even like Bjergsen lane, talk about him being a very steady laner. Whippo is not like that at all, and it definitely throws their opponents for a loop.
That's why I think it's been interesting watching Bjergsen early on. A lot of supportive picks. He has one LeBlanc game, but otherwise a lot of the stable control mages because you have that volatility in the top lane.
All right, so last weekend, I asked all three of you, hey, Dignitas, 100 Thieves, is there a chance? And it was 2-0s across the board for 100 Thieves in terms of the predictions, and it went the other way. So I'm going to offer the opportunity up to all three of you again. Is anyone going to back Dignitas today in their best of 5 against Team Liquid?
Do you know if Team Liquid's going to change their roster?
I don't know that.
Okay, well then I'm going with Team Liquid.
You're going Team Liquid?
I think this iteration's got it.
All
Yes.
three of you apparently are
Yeah.
going Team
Yep.
Liquid. So no one's. Does Dig take a game?
No.
They 2-0'd 100 Thieves!
Look, I'm willing to be wrong again, all right? Throw me in the pit if I'm wrong.
I'll be
right.
in the pit with you, dude.
All right, you guys have your predictions. Core JJ has his as well. TL Core JJ is better than Dig Core JJ. Dig Core JJ minus Core JJ is less than TL Core JJ minus Core JJ.
I'm
know,
lost.
Excellent
Less
math.
than
It's in
TL.
algebra.
Easy
Yeah.
math.
This is
Yeah, easy math.
I love
Yeah,
it.
it is easy math.
I'm a big nerd. This
I'm going to
is
let everyone kind of
This is
tinker
actually a
on that
banger
one
tweet.
as we go ahead and throw it out to our casters for the call. We've got LaTigris, Kobe, and Jat standing by. Take it away.
Thank you so much, Dash.
How can they be lost on that? That
It's
is
just
simple
greater than less than
subtraction.
size.
Too long since anybody's been in a math class, I guess. But
That is the most basic subtraction I've ever seen. Oh, okay.
I did some digging on the rosters.
do tell,
Yeah,
Mr.
so
Jat.
I happen to follow TL Yon on Twitter, so at Yon7lol, and about 52 minutes ago, he said streaming, day 5. Currently, he's actually streaming solo queue
Yeah.
on twitch.tv/Yon7lol.
I have a feeling.
He's only got 29 viewers for some reason. He's very entertaining. He's playing Zeri. But I have a feeling if he was going to be coming in shortly, he wouldn't be playing Zeri right now. So I think we're going to see Ayla for a little bit more. That's my theory.
Maybe he just wants to be a little more warmed up for when he does eventually come into the fold. Only time will tell. We do know what our first lineup is going to be, though. They talked about it on the desk. Whippo stepping into that top lane. We've got Hansama and Ayla down in bot. Neon, you keep doing your stream thing, boo-boo. We'll see you another time.
I don't know if he's allowed to, so I may have just ratted them
I'm
out.
pretty sure you just sent the cops over
Yeah.
to Yon, and he's gonna
Yeah.
shut down.
You'll get a
your
quick
free
boost of
play.
viewers, and it's just dead.
I will say for fans, while we are updating the patch, you can't play Zeri in the tournament yet. Zeri is still banned, although if you wanted some Zeri gameplay, I guess you could go
Tell
for-
the monitor
to see
for a little
Yon.
while.
Let's
Yeah.
get into the bans though. Caitlin off the ban list already here from Dig. Now I may actually prepare some Jat stats because I know you love stat based around
Okay.
taking ban.
Yeah.
Did you know Dignitas have banned Diana in 3 of the last 4 games that they played in the first round of bans? Then you go and look at Santorin. What do you think Santorin's career-long Diana win rate is?
Games of Legends is down right now, or I cheat. And I tell you, like right
Do
now,
you think they
his
should keep
career
Diana-
Diana win rate?
Yes.
Uh,
This will answer the question, do you think Dig should continue to ban Diana? Because they're obviously afraid of Diana Yasuo.
You got that timer on the clock, too,
I'm
Jat.
gonna say 75%.
Okay, it's a trick question because it
Never
is
played it.
undefined. He has
Yeah.
never played Diana in his 8-year professional career.
I
So you
definitely-
can drop the Diana ban. Well done, Dignitas. They did their research and they banned the Trundle instead.
It is
Much more
interesting
like
as well
Santorin.
because Diana has been banned by FlyQuest in their series as well, but it was opened in the second game and then first picked by FlyQuest. So willing to play as and against it. And you could say what he's played on stage, Kobe, but I know he's scrimmed a lot of Diana last year.
It's definitely funny whenever you have this 8-year list
Yeah, I know.
of
Never
data
played.
of never playing it. And I also think, Santorin with his huge preference for Trundle, regardless, is a very good ban there. Let's get right into
Yeah.
it, though. Corki picked up super good scaling, doesn't give away anything from Team Liquid.
Yep.
Bjergsen has already shown very capable on this, and this is another big story for this matchup. How is Bjergsen going to handle Blue coming fresh off his defeat of Abadaga?
And it makes sense that Dig is just power picking their bot lane here. In a lot of previous games when Thresh was open, TL actually first picked that multiple times in the group stage. but taking it for Biofrost, I think, is a good call.
Yeah, one thing, though, with Aphelios that you have to work around is the bit of lack of range when you're facing stuff, like Corki, where rockets are coming in big. So sometimes it pushes the builds more towards, getting a second item Bloodthirster or something like that for a bigger shield and even more sustain. We've got an update on the Yon stream. It seems about 300 of you have gone over to check him out, and it's still going on while his team is playing.
This is the new Jat stat that we have to track consistently through, see what Yon's numbers are looking like on the stream. Though, a little bit back to the draft, not going to see the Diana officially from Santorin. They have locked in the Xin Zhao for that position. Still have an opportunity to get that bot lane worked out later. Graves being the next lock-in as well.
And so no surprises at all from the Team Liquid side for their draft. All of these champions, they've already shown high preference for. Multiple Graves games for Bwipo. Santorin's second most preferential jungle champion behind the Trundle is the Xin as well. So not giving anything away in a first game of a best of 5 is not necessarily a surprise. But we are seeing way more engage on the side of Dignitas here. That Jarvan, once again for River, he's done so well with it. The early playmaking has been on point.
The most pivotal champion, I think, in Dignitas' surprise 2-0 over 100 Thieves last week was Jarvan. So I think it's a smart pick, even if it's not necessarily specifically countering something. It's just looking like solid champions across the board so far for Dig.
Yeah, it's not that great into stuff like Corki, obviously, because
Corki Graves can both be mobile enough to get out of the Cataclysm, so those are both actually like pretty good picks against Jarvan.
Exactly. So we'll have to see how he makes it work in combination with his own team, because it can be a very good combination with Aphelios Ultimate and trying to group up multiple other players for that.
Something to be said about Dignitas sticking with the win conditions that worked with them in their prior series. And as we move on within the draft, the next bans start to come out. Silas, we haven't actually gotten to see directly in a lot of this play because he is getting taken off the board for a lot of the mid laners galore that have a preference towards that pick.
Yeah, when you're looking at stuff to ban out now for Team Liquid's side, you're trying to ban out stuff that's going to be very aggressive mid and take advantage of Corki's weak early lane phase. Because while he does have Valkyrie, you don't want to have to spam Valkyrie in lane trying to avoid ganks from Jarvan and a kill threat mid lane opponent, because it costs 100 mana. Extremely high mana cost on that. And Dignitas here with Blue, if they could get him something extremely punishing early into this Corki, try and take advantage of River's very aggressive jungling style. That would be a way to open up the map early, because they don't want to have to deal with the late game.
I mean, Blue's Zoe has been really solid. Victor is like the Corki Victor thing that you just do, so it's no surprise if they go with that. But if they wanted a little bit more early lane pressure, Zoe would be the way to go. It's just easy once Corki can itemize a little bit of MR. Corki will have the mid-game shove. It's just an early game pick.
And if you want to go a lot more, then you go like Akshan or Lucian or something like that. Get really deep in there. Not going to go outside the meta, though. Victor does, especially in my opinion, but also depending some on player skill, have more authority than Corki early on in this lane phase. You go airy on it, you play aggressively early on. We'll have to check on the positioning here for jungle routes, because Victor is also easily more punishable by jungle.
A tale as old as Season 12 is in the mid lane, Corki and the Victor facing off. A lot of the targets towards Team Liquid in the bans were towards that support position in the later phases, and it's Tom Kench getting brought through on the table.
You know what that means? Senna Tom. Coming back.
Yay.
We did see a little bit.
Senna, when Graves was a jungler, I always thought Senna Graves was just such a lethal duo in terms of team fighting. The front to back on this, even though their engage isn't going to be that good, the amount of damage that TL is going to be able to pump out is pretty absurd.
And we should say that we are now on the patch where you've got the guaranteed slow that was added to the queue there for Senna. So that's why we're seeing her come back in a very big way. Tom Kench also buffed up for support role quite significantly. So both of them holding hands basically on the patch. It was a very good patch for this specific duo.
I hear so much enthusiasm in your voice, Kobe, about what we're about to witness in that bot lane. And Senna, full firepower last time around during last week, but again, new patch, new look for her.
Yeah, and it's going to be a very dangerous look, so we shall see for Dignitas. Can they keep this party bus rolling? Can they try and get some upsets here versus Team Liquid?
With the full lineups now on the table in Champ Select, we know what champs will be taking to the Rift. What do you expect from these two squads?
Not a whole bunch of action early. Especially with what TL has, I think mostly Santorin's going to be looking to neutralize River. I do think it's something he's historically been very, very good at. You look at the way River got advantages for Dignitas against Hunter Thieves, it was a lot of creative early pathing and ganking. And Santorin is a very good, I want to call it like defensive jungler. If they can put the right wards down as a team and shut that down, I think TL would be looking to scale pretty soundly.
I think that's one of the key points is putting the right wards down. Things like, what Mark pointed out on the Telestrator where, River goes for a level 2 Jarvan gank past a Pixel Brush ward. That actually isn't even, great job River. That is bad ward. That ward in Pixel Brush can be placed further up in the Pixel Brush and cover the entire ramp, and should be. So you need to be able to get that vision down correctly to cover the actual pathways that you're going to be going for. Some other cases were very well executed by him, though. You know that you can hug the wall inside of Baron Pit on the very top side to avoid like Scuttle Crab vision, and using what to be your opponent's information against them is one of my favorite parts about jungling. So that's why I've really enjoyed watching River, because he takes that information game to its fullest, plays a lot of the mind games, working around what he knows that you can see.
All good reasons for us to track exactly where these junglers are going to go in the early game, both of them being described as facilitative in their own right, but still having their own style. Game number 1 of our semifinal series here in LCS Lock-In. An unexpected matchup in Team Liquid and Dignitas, but we definitely feel the fire on both sides as we have a pretty standard spread, and a lot of the picks we've been seeing throughout the tournament thus far, aside from some of those adjustments, particularly on the bot side.
Bjergsen is not even a color. Burned, roasted, absolutely destroyed. There's no comeback for that. All right, we're going to get, looks like a late invade here. Santorin groups up with Bwipo. Now, doesn't have a sweeper in the hands of either jungle or top lane.
And Thresh is roamed up, so you normally expect Thresh to be in lane because the prio is so important, but this is a nice read by the ward, and they're going to have numbers here.
Yep, sought out directly on top of that ward, and Fake God is getting some slams into Santorin, an early flash into the Baron Pit for that escape. Bwipo coming over the wall with a quick draw, but nothing else going to come from there.
And I want to track what River can do with this basically 20-second advantage and a flash up, because bottom lane is really sacrificed for that red buff secure.
And significant health lead. Both potions chugged by Santorin, still very low in the jungle from that early harassment. Good read here by Dignitas, again, getting a very promising early jungle start, and sweeper on bottom sides mean they can clear it out. Now, I will say the ward that TL left up by Raptor Pit Brush did see the transition from red buff down, thank you observers, to the bottom half of the map. So they know at least River is trying to make something happen on the bottom half of the map, and they question mark ping their own red buff, but he makes his pass.
That's a big moment, actually, because based on the fact that the bottom lane put so much time into clearing the vision, you almost expected River to just take red buff, and he had the time to do so, but instead, he was looking to gain a kill for the bottom lane. That didn't pan out, so honestly, I feel like that time gain was actually just lost by River when he went for that gank that wasn't going to pan out because his bottom lane was just level 1.
Not finding the advantage that he wanted to in bot lane, so going back into his standard own side of the jungle to keep getting up on that experience. Santorin able to pull ahead slightly because of that action.
Bwipo taking full advantage of the pushing power of Graves. Of course, while jungle for Team Liquid did lose out in the level 1, there was a good chunk from Bwipo down onto Fake God, push him out before the minions, and then Graves also easily able to control minion wave, shove him under, and be able to get the early priority. Early reset for him, should be able to get one of the cheater purchases off.
And it is a little peculiar now because Santorin is still playing as if his bot jungle was clear. Ayla's going to find that out right now because he just walked through the jungle to see what River has done. So after taking Raptors, Santorin can then go and retake his red side. Might be a lot of action down here, though, as the wave is bouncing back towards Dig, and River is there for the stacked wave.
All right, starting the back right now, but Biofrost escorting him through that try so they can pressure this somewhat. The wave pushing in, but instead they'll decide to back off.
Yeah, Tom Kench, even with the changes for abilities, it's still pretty hard to dive Senna Tom Kench. Yes, you know, Devour is ultimate now, but still quite tanky himself, and the healing from Senna under tower would be way too much.
Right, checking back in on the game state. Pretty even over in the mid lane, though, in terms of that farming. Not going to be much action there for some time. Fake God escorting that wave up towards the top side, and Rivers decided not much going to happen for me on the bot side. I'll hover over here instead.
I also really like how Bwipo has recognized after the early shove-in and is trying to take full advantage of this Gragas lane here. Went with the cull, already starting to work away at those cull stacks, and very clearly, Fake God, if there was any even possible question, for sure is going with the tank build. Has Grasp in lane, early tier, builds you into the Fimble Winter. So it just turns Gragas into such a powerful playmaker and tank for you later on, which has been a position that they've tried to have him on very frequently here, when you have that extra move speed from the chem tank as well as so much tankiness from the renewable shield.
And I'm curious what's going to happen at the end of Santorin's jungle path right here, as he's still been on the map for the first 5 minutes, 20 seconds. Mainly he's just playing defense to get this wave into the turret, but it would be a possible dragon attempt. Mostly, though, I think he's just there in case a counter gank comes in from Jarvan.
Even took that bush pathing so that he wouldn't be seen if necessary to get into the fold, but the dragon has officially spawned, so those rotations down towards that bot side do make sense.
I mean, yeah, just a hover there on the end of the route. Make sure there's no aggressive play as we are looking at all the options here from River. Still, Summoner Spells being available makes it pretty difficult to try and set one of these up too. So I will say though, for this lock-in tournament, you know, one of my big surprises and something that made me smile is how well Biofrost has been playing as one of those, you know, longer-standing players, and coming back and being able to have some success already early on in the tournament. Gives me definitely hope for them.
I mean, the whole Dignitas team, based off that series they had against 100 Thieves, 2-0 the defending LCS champions, no one expected Dig to even be in this position. If you think back to the original lock-in draft, they're basically last in gym class, right? And everyone wanted to play against them as the River is taken control of by the TL Roam.
Indeed, the River has been taken control of. The River is forced to recall. And mid lane should be blue having to give up pressure because you can only take a very short trade there knowing you've lost full jungle power.
It's a really bad joke that for some reason I just realized, but having River and blue, if you're using player names instead of champion names, that could get very confusing. So
Sometimes
like,
it's hard to avoid it.
In blue.
Yep, you
Going
just
for
want to say
River.
it. Even more, all the way on this side. We'll see how that goes. But back over to that support point on Biofrost and how he has been playing, having some of those Enchanter champions early on and now bringing back into the fold some of these engages. The Thresh, for instance, such a high priority, but Ayla having the different pick for him at this point is just an interesting thing to kind of watch up, right? Biofrost coming back from the veteran fold and Ayla really making a name for himself in recent weeks as one of the newfound supports under the learnings and the teachings of Core JJ.
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of really positive things to say about Ayla. He was actually the MVP of the OPL, which was the Pro League over in Australia before it changed in the last couple years. Big gank from River, though.
Oh, Bjergsen has to Valkyrie away, so River's just going to reside with blue directly under the turret. No sums lost in this one.
Yeah, Corky Victor so far. Really, River's just trying to give blue a nice recall timing with that gank.
Yep, takes the gank, forces the extra mana burn on Valkyrie, but also takes the rocket, doesn't allow the interrupt on the recall, and Team Liquid happy to continue scaling. Their solo laners thriving here, both of them in their lanes, I would say even moisturized and fully fully pushing in both of these solo lanes, Graves and Corky. With the full control means you even could start up Riftfield here for Santorin. Actually, there is no teleport on Bjergsen, so would even be moving in.
He does have package, so they know that he can get there very quickly. This is an interesting Herald that's basically taken completely through top lane pressure. A lot of times, if you're going to go for an 8-minute Herald, it's because you have some type of bot lane move as well, but that's just how much Bwipo has control of the top lane. Syncing that up with the timing of the package made it a pretty easy Herald for Santorin. So it's 0-0, but I'd say the early game's going pretty heavily in the favor of TL.
Yeah, package is no-brainer to sync up with Herald because 8 minutes
is when it spawns.
Works out for both of them.
Some harass in the top lane, but just getting knocked back a little bit. Santorin, during their previous series against FlyQuest, had full objective control, clearly prioritizing that. But this time around, it's Dignitas that grabbed that first dragon on the bot side, trading for that objective focus on top.
Yep, no big surprises here. Meanwhile, continuing to work off this top pressure of Whippo now farming between turrets. Santorin is able to get and replenish the deep vision. You can see on this red quadrant of the jungle, Raptors will respawn, but River, knowing he's lost full control of the top side of the map, should continue to play off of bottom half. So we'll see where he goes from. Gromp should probably be into bottom quadrant. He's actually just going to recall instead. Probably has the whip completion, one of the biggest completions for junglers. Actually only being able to complete the mallet there really sucks. That feels terrible as a jungler. So now that he's finally finished the whip, it increases your clear speed, especially for the AoE camps, tremendously, as well as adding that burst for your combos. So a much better little component item now picked up.
Absolutely, and I'm just tracking Blippo. I mean, he was at 100 CS by 9:30. He's at 107 by 10 minutes, and he was a big part of why TL was able to take that whole top side of the jungle. But here's the gank.
Good flash. Little bit of a window there to be able to get the flash off, and well done by Blippo. Necessary there, so it's flash for flash plus the ultimate in the end, and he trades up on cooldowns as Fake God tries to set him up there for River.
And because we're at 10:40 with still no kills in the game, you're kind of wondering, where is that 1,400 gold advantage coming from? And a lot of it is through Whippo, but then the other part is, like, everyone has these windows of time where it's their turn to do something. At the very start of the game, right, River had that window of time where he tried to gank bottom lane, at least looked to gank bottom lane, didn't get anything done, and didn't take any farm. When TL was invading the red buff of Dignitas, Dig was getting vision down here in the jungle of TL, but they didn't take any camps. So there's a lot of these really small trades where Dig isn't accruing gold, but TL is, and that's where the advantage is coming from.
Yeah, and it is Blippo and Santorin, the two big gold holders.
Yep.
Thus far from Team Liquid gaining them.
Wanting to capitalize upon the 1.6k gold lead they've already established, and seeing that early movement from the junglers and the supports working in tandem to keep that pressure across the map.
Next thing we're going to look for is the Rift Herald play, because it is approaching timeout duration.
Good hook, throws the box up. Ayla walking through it, but they can't follow up at this point in time. Just going to push that wave.
I would think because Whippo has so much control, you would be able to get a very effective Herald play towards top side, but with multiple champions here from Dig being invested for what Team Liquid would think would be some deep vision up on that side and a possible attempt, Santorin now heads through the bottom side river to pick up Scuttle Crab and fish here.
Yeah, tick-tock on that Rift Herald clock. So much vision across that bot side river in favor of Team Liquid for them to move freely and find that opportunity to drop it down.
If you get into combat even and don't die, and you're just in combat and you don't get to drop it before it expires.
It's like 10 seconds left on that Herald.
It's got to be mid.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Bjergsen. Get some cash.
320 gold. There we go.
There it is. Shelly gonna crash into this turret, get some of the plates off as well. Blue and River can't defend too much off of it. You can see some rotation from Frost if there is a follow-up engage, but just gotta drop it before that timer expires and inject even more gold into the Team Liquid side.
Yeah, some little things with that. As long as you drop it within charge range of the tower, then it's going to get off.
Yeah.
The problem then, the hiccup that you come into is you can drop it a little bit far away and then it gets aggro on some minions or a champion or something. And you're unable to get it, but guarantees it there because even with popping an eyeball and a smite there, not able to get it.
Sweeper from River to make sure he's unseen here, but Whippo doing the smart thing and backing off when they don't know exactly where the enemy jungler is.
Yeah, he's continuing to really exert a lot of dominance. He had such an early mythic timing there with the Eclipse, so he's going to continue to bully this lane. One thing to track, though, so far in Lock-In Tournament, Whippo is 46% of Team Liquid's deaths in the games that he's played. He's applying a lot of pressure, but that is the highest death percentage of any player I've seen in the world so far. And I haven't tracked the minor regions, but all the major regions, no one has a death percentage that high. And he's just applying pressure. If they do kill him with this gank, it'll open up Dragon, but he's He's on knife's edge. He might get a kill, though.
Yeah, FakeOut got chunked down. River goes in with a flag and drag. The Cataclysm is up. He trades his life first. Bwippo gets it. 2 killed and a double kill for the Team Liquid top laner.
Cataclysm, this is actually Bwippo the Gladiator. Welcome, you're not gonna escape with your lives this time around. Senna ultimate from the bottom lane goes all the way up there to help him out, give him that little bit of an edge.
They have their cake and eat it too. He gets pressure. It's the Senna factor to turn it. Now, not only do they get the double kill top lane, they can still trade on the bottom. So that's even better than just getting 2 kills.
The boldness with which Bwippo plays, you can
7,000
see
gold.
it in that moment, and that gold will continue to expand as he chunks down onto that top turret just that much more. The turret completely coming to a fall. So top lane 1, baby, and now this second Drake that has spawned should be going to the Team Liquid side to make that 1-1 on the Drake scoreboard.
That will make any jungler, no matter how sunny your disposition is, your stomach just drops. When you get 2v1, because as you say, Dad, not only did you just lose your skirmish on the top side and give up 2 kills, but you lose all control of the map because your position is revealed. You've been taken off the map. So it's a sweep here for Team Liquid. They pick up the dragon on the other side. They've got so much to work with.
The game is kind of out of hand, too. You could see 2 didn't work, so they thought about sending 3 that time with Victor spending his roam timing to go to River. But Bwippo backed off, so they're losing even more pressure on the bottom side. Like, I would love to see Bwippo's gold right now because he's got to be 2,000 or 3,000 gold up individually on the Gragas. Watching this play one more time, he's just, with the Eclipse build, it's the Omnivamp will keep him generally healthy the whole lane. So if you go for the gank, you have to have a large amount of burst damage and they have to land all of their spells, which they don't. And then Bwippo uses the Cataclysm for the rebound on his Graves Q and just cleans him up.
End of the line. You created your own death zone here. Bwippo not trapped in there with you. You're trapped in there with him. Yeah, Rorschach is having a field day. And look at the armor penetration finished. Okay. Woo. He can actually just even melt Gragas.
I'm a little surprised he didn't go Collector second, but he'll still be able to go Collector into IE and have this insane 60% crit high armor pen build.
Yeah, I mean, Collector would be better against every other champion,
Yeah.
so it signals to me that he thinks he's going to keep on fighting Fake God.
Yeah.
He wants to keep isolating inside lane. He wants to keep just smashing his advantage over the head of
yeah.
Fake God and leveraging this one into the dub.
That gradual lead that we saw early on due to the farming now has expanded into nearly 5K gold lead for Team Liquid, past the 1630 mark. Another Herald grab for themselves. And even down bot, there were lots of waves that were shoved too to make sure that they have those outer turrets in their favor. Neo gonna try and trade for one right now though to get the first Dignitas turret on the board.
I think that was a bit of a mistake by Team Liquid not having either Ayla or Santorin there in time to allow Bjergsen to clear the minion wave and stop Neo from taking that turret. Whenever Aphelios can line up White Gun with an isolated turret, that thing disappears. So that's a good chunk of gold that they would have liked to be able to deny from Neo, but they just didn't quite have their recalls synced up at the right moments.
And some setup around mid, just trying to establish the vision, controls from both sides around this riverside. And because of the way the turrets have flown, we've already seen the teams rotate towards their other portions of the map.
Meanwhile, let's return to this Bwippo scenario because he is the story of the
big
game.
boy Bwippo.
Yeah. He's got Unleashed Teleport coming off of cooldown extremely shortly, so it will be lined up for the dragon fight, but they're not even waiting for that advantage. Santorin fighting in the river.
And still 2 minutes to go on that, but River getting chunked down. Another Cataclysm gets the flash out from Santorin, and he's pursued by Blue. A flash forward in response, gets the kill. That's a good play for Biofrost to get the kill onto Ayla here. 3 down on Team Liquid. Dignitas making a stand.
As soon as you start singing their praises, they forget that Bwippo is the one winning this game. Team Liquid was not winning. They take a fight in River erroneously away from Bwippo just before the cooldown that we pointed out on his Unleashed Teleport is available. It was still on cooldown. He could not get there. He's the Fed member. They lose both sides of the fight, chat, and another turret goes the way of Dignitas. Dignitas clawing their way back. They just gained 2,000 gold back.
Silver linings.
Okay.
Bwippo did get red. So
okay.
He'll have that for a couple minutes. Yeah, he'll be able to keep pushing. No, just a huge swing here from Team Dignitas. I mean, it was really two fights erupting at once. I think with how far TL was pushed up in mid lane, they kind of assumed they'd be able to have help in River, but the Fake God Roam pushes mid lane back, means TL loses control of River, and it's just a 3-on-3 that started as a 3-on-2 where they end up losing.
It's funny because this plays into a community-wide conversation around top lane right now. Guess what? Bwipo just turbo stomps top lane here. But because he is still back in top lane and he's pushing up there with his teleport cooldown not up, Fake God's like, forget top lane, I'm out of here. I'm going to go with the rest of the team. And Dignitas clawing their way back into it. Yes, it is still a massive gold lead for Team Liquid, but these are the types of things that Dignitas have to look for in this game, leveraging those small windows that they can get a numbers advantage, getting the objective back to.
As this Rift Herald crashes into the mid turret, if you recall from Dignitas last year, Fake God Neo making a name for themselves because even when they were at a deficit, they trusted in these hands. They knew they had the mechanics when things got scrappy. So potentially what they're looking to for a victory.
Yeah, but Bwipo is here now. Bjergsen just caught the wave top. They dropped the Herald to open up mid right before Dragon. Fairly textbook in terms of getting the control here, and it looks like Dignitas is just going to give it up.
Yeah, and they're making the correct call in both cases here, Dig. Even though Dig in the previous one, big winners, and this one, oh yeah, they're losing an objective. They have no other choice than to lose it, you know? Move Blue up there, try and trade on top side turret. You still are facing a big deficit, and you don't want to fight around Bwipo when they are properly allocating their champions.
At least chunking down that deficit somewhat. That was approaching about 5K 5 minutes ago. Now down to 3.4. Still a chunky one, though, for Team Liquid to capitalize upon. And Bwipo, when he's feeling nice and strong, feels A-okay, just pushing this up, chunking down onto Fake God as well.
Yeah, but look at how ridiculous that was. Like, he just took a full rotation from Gragas and then used his spells on the wave, healed the full, and still has permanent pressure in that lane. It takes a family to bring him down right now, because I think if River goes up there again, they still won't have it. So they would need to find a timing to get Blue over there if they want any chance of killing him.
Or find an opportunity when that grouping comes later to just take him out of the situation, but that might not come for some time if Team Liquid knows what's good for them in the win conditions that they have issued.
Honestly, I don't think you can send people, to go deal with that problem.
Gotta ignore
you
it.
have to have, you have to have Blue kill him in the team fight. That's your options, because Graves is going to stack up so much armor with the passive too. Blue's got the best chance of dealing with it later and trying to burst him and take advantage of the range here from Victor, the combination there. That will be the hope. And I think Dig have done a pretty good job trying to stop the bleeding and fight their way back in.
Yeah, and one thing that was also, from the Dignitas side, surprising about their 100 Thieves victory is the second game was stompy, but the first game was very close. And so much of it felt like River just kind of walking around trying to create action, and miraculously it happened. So they're kind of searching for that over and over again. The Gragas is just leaving Graves whenever he's pushing a wave. They're trying to find timings, and they're hoping the TL oversteps.
And that is exactly why in Champ Select we started talking about how Jarvan is not a universally effective pick. Let's take a look here.
Hold up, River tried to go in to get some chunk onto Santorin. Throws Fake God, does belly out of this one. Teleport to bring the full team into the fight. Still a bit of a wave to be cleared up from Team Liquid, though, so no additional engage.
Yeah, the engage initially was a whiff from River, right? It was easily repelled by the Senatom Kench, but it did draw the Bwipo TP, so now the next time he moves to a side lane, the move for a potential fight from Dignitas would be better because Fake God has just gotten TP advantage.
Yeah, Blue's teleport also synced up here, so Blue's gonna have to be walking with the rest of Dig. I think, again, he is so important to this team because he's got Shadow Flame, he's got the burst damage with Ludens to be able to deal with this problem. Try and take care of it before too much damage is actually done.
It does look, though, with the TP advantage. We'll see how they reassign the lanes when Bwipo comes back out of base. But since Bjergsen still has his, Bjergsen will just move to the bottom lane, since Baron is the main objective they have to worry about, and Bwipo will just kind of sit up top lane and maybe keep that wave in. It's going to be interesting to track, though, because TL, through their team comp, sure, they have a lot of damage, but they need to get their fights by pushing waves and setting up for objectives. Their engage itself is pretty poor.
Exactly. That's why Biofrost's positioning has been so important. This Thresh hovering the lane.
Here comes the family. He's dead.
4 people. All right, 4 people can take it down.
Mama, Papa, the kids have all arrived. Bwipo flash forward to want to get this onto Blue. The Chaos Storm has dropped to get a lot of damage right outside of the Cataclysm. Liquid.
Dig is right in this game, getting that 800 extra gold onto Blue. That's really going to power him forward. If he gets to death cap, it makes any of the auto attack based champions, which there are basically 2 to 3, depending on how many missiles Bjergsen wants to fire versus auto attacks, it's going to make it very hard for them to play team fights. So they just found a window as Bjergsen was just on a reset and Whippo was trying to greed one extra wave. They get that fat bounty.
Yeah, Simply could not have gone into a better place as well. Blue happily picks it up. Everybody else walks away. Even Neo says, yes, we definitely need that on you. Zhonya's triple item power spike now picked up for Blue. He's got more safety in the fight as well. Dignitas hanging their hopes on this Victor. A couple of really good mid-game answers in choices for lane allocation have gotten Dignitas within striking distance.
Gonna be honest, I don't like the Zhonyas. I want to see like a Lich Bane or a Death Cap. I feel like they have 2.5 frontline with Thresh, Gragas, Jarvan. They really, really need damage to blow through TL, but we'll see if he has a really clutch stopwatch moment in this fight. Looking at the way the mid wave is pushed up though, in 18 seconds until spawn, let's see if there's an objective contest here, because the game plan for TL, even though the gold is only 1,500, they have to kind of get their lead through objectives, and that starts with the waves.
While Team Liquid had gotten both of the Rift Heralds prior to get those early turrets, Dignitas has evened up that board. They have started to slowly shrink down this lead between the two because of things like a big old Whippo bounty that they were able to get prior. And now the Drake is finally up on the bot side. You can see on your map that the Team Liquid members are on it. So officially soul point for them with the Cloud Soul on the way.
I will say, I do give increased value to Zhonya's or stopwatches when your team also has Thresh.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of
time.
situations, exactly. You'll get caught out, and then there's a lantern waiting for you as soon as you come out for it. So, but full damage looks better if you don't get caught, if your positioning is pristine.
Yeah.
Sometimes that extra durability just gives you that confidence to make the outplay in the fights. And that's something that Blue has done before to save the game and can try to do if he's given the advantages.
Good control of vision here from Dig around the Baron, forcing Team Liquid. Base check.
Hook over the wall onto Whippo, the knock up, the follow-up. Santorin's in it, activates the ultimate as well. Knock up onto Fate, got two. Santorin getting stunned up in the middle of the action. Bjergsen poking from the outside with the missile barrage. Biofrost throwing a hook over the wall. He also narrowly missing the opportunity to die, and he's feeling pretty good about it. All alive on the Rift.
And you can really just see how quickly River had to bail after getting that initial engage onto Team Liquid. The question here is with how much damage they have in the sustain from Senna, do they want to go for Baron? It actually looks like it might end up being a whole lot of nothing.
Not so easy unless you catch Whippo in a 4v1 scenario to take him down.
They have really good Aphelios guns right now in order to do the Baron.
TL fishing.
A death sentence onto the enemy jungler means that Dignitas feel they have pushed him enough at bay to bring their attention back onto the Baron, but lo and behold, Team Liquid is still on the outskirts. We have the teleport from Bjergsen over on the top side, clearing up in those waves, and that's the disengage right there that you're looking for. Too much of a presence from Team Liquid.
It's gonna get more difficult, I have to feel like, too, for Dignitas here. Bjergsen has been scaling extremely well. Has just a CS bounty on his head now. Not even from any kills. As far as moving up, very close to his 3-item power spike as well, trying to work away at the teammate to finish it off so he can get his Ravenous, and then you really start to feel those rockets.
And we talked about Whippo being the rising hero on Team Liquid side, Blue on the time of Dignitas, but Bjergsen, if he gets to that point to now being able to come into these team fights and really poke down, then that's just so many threats that Dignitas do have to worry about. And right now, they have to focus on these threats because Team Liquid take their chance to start up the Baron. They brought it down to about 60% HP. Bjergsen and Ayla zoning on the outskirts of this pit. Fate God rotating around. He's got the sweeper up, knows that there's some vision against them. Teleport coming from the jungle side of Blue. Root and more onto Fate God means he's chunked out of the fight. River also getting a big slap from the Crescent Guard from Santorin here. Team Liquid again able to back off.
Huge devour by Ayla there after Fate God landed a very nice cast onto Whipple that throws him into Team Dignitas. And that attempted Baron sneak right there, I think is kind of the complexion of the game from here on out. Because as we saw earlier, like TL does not have great engage options. The way they find fights is they try and take control of the zone and then return fire when Dignitas tries to move into that zone. Baron was the stopgap solution for that, didn't lead to any results, but Cloud's Soul is going to be coming up in a minute 30, so I think that's going to be the next area of contest.
Yeah, range will continue to get better for them too because they do have Senna,
Yeah.
but as you can see, only 62, I
Yep.
believe, souls
Yep.
on Hansama. So still looking for those really annoying range levels. Continue farming it up.
So with Team Liquid having such a strong early game and Dignitas continually chunking down to bring this gold lead a little closer to manageable, who are you looking at to make the plays if it's Dignitas that have all of the engage, but Team Liquid are having a struggle finding a way to try and offset that?
Well, they have to prey on the positioning of Team Liquid being split first because it's obviously going to be Fake God and River making the plays, but it's really about the timing. You saw in the last one where even with a hook starting out on Whippo to pull him in, still the burst damage as River jumps in is 50% of his life. And he can cut through him, which is why he went for so much armor penetration here. Even as they jump in onto him, they have to be very, very careful and precise about where they make this engagement.
And Whippo did use his ultimate there
Yeah.
with that mid lane skirmish as well.
Yeah, Neo used Gale Force, which prompted the Whippo ultimate. Gale Force itself for Aphelios, like that mobility, is a very important cooldown actually, but it did give Dignitas the ability to take River, and TL doesn't have a great way of retaking the zone. They can sit out here and poke, but here's the fight.
Oh, root means that you got to get that package out of the equation for Bjergsen. Going in, Fake God, he has enough of the sustain to keep him in this fight. Hansama, nice and under the guise of protection, can back off of this as well. Lots of times where this time we only get the one kill onto Santorin, but it's so much more than we've had in times past. Blue, look at that chunk down, goes
Stopwatch.
into stasis. Whipple's right on top of him. Cradicless and thrown on the other side. A great hook to follow here. Grabs onto Ayla. His attention is onto River, and he can't take someone down in the process. Team Liquid losing 3 in the fight at 30 minutes here.
Stopwatch! Into Lantern! Into Lantern, baby! That's the key for Dig. Plus, I want to compliment on that engagement. The reason they annihilated Santorin, they got the good bump on him to keep him in gravity field. And then they had the safety to finish off the Zin even inside his own ultimate. Dignitas are just running away with it.
I mean, are they doing it? Like, they 2-0'd 100 Thieves, and they're about to take Baron against TL in game 1. But there's a Cloud Soul that's attempted to be taken. Dig is here to cover.
Oh, some zoning. Hansama gets the brunt of the Gragas explosive gas, and over the wall, Santorin comes and grabs the soul for Team Liquid.
Quick little save there from Santorin.
Yeah.
Arrives just in time, and Team Liquid are still able to get the soul. But this is still a world where Dignitas have Baron buff to try and push in with and actually get some more of this secondary tower gold.
This game's a banger. It's a certified banger already. I mean, it did start a little slow.
When was the last time we checked in on the Yon stream?
He messaged me. He said,
Oh.
he said someone ratted me out.
Someone!
Yeah.
Jan, I'm sure you got some new subs off of that, buddy. I think that's a thank you. You should have been sending that way. But our eyes on this game have definitely seen a story unfold. That advantage that held for Team Liquid for so long. Dignitas grabbing onto it officially for themselves. 1.4 gold in the lead at 32 minutes here, but
Yeah,
no.
it's about how Dig can start the fight, because so much of it is about spacing, right? They have the engage tools, but if the engage doesn't happen well in range of the damage, it's not going to be effective. They've been able to win these fights, and here comes another fake engage by River. He gets pretty chunked, though.
Biofrost making sure to hover in the jungle alcove so that he can hook anybody if they go too deep onto his team. The Red Bull Baron buff still in play for Dignitas, allows them to take that tier 2 in the bot side, moving as a unit towards mid, but leaving Victor behind so they can take the tier 2 mid. And officially granting themselves much more control over the Summoner's Rift than they have had prior. Bio taking a little bit of chunk there, but nice time for a reset.
One of the key things whenever it ends up being like a Baron for Soul situation, the team that gets the Soul just needs to absorb the Baron as much as possible, right? Like make sure the game doesn't end during that duration of Baron. We're gonna go back a little bit though and watch this fight one more time. Eventually watch for Blue's Zhonya's coming in at just the right time because it's a pretty close fight up to that point. They land that really long root on a Bjergsen, which basically takes him out of the fight. Santorin goes in, but then like right here, Whippo sees a window where he thinks he can one-shot Blue, and that's where the fight turns.
Yeah, and I just really like the move there from River to knock up and keep Santorin in that gravity field so that they could finish him off. And that's the thing that Team Liquid are facing is they don't have, a really great absorption front line. And so once he goes down there and they kill him even in the ultimate, then you get this secondary engage. They're already down a person, and Blue is able to successfully bait them with the Zhonya's.
If you ever doubt the Zhonya's, just pull up that play and say, see, it was the right thing to do.
Whoa,
Oh, Neo takes a lot of damage, throws out the Moonlight Vigil in response because Dignitas want to continue this push onto the tier 2 on the top side to complete their collection, but Team Liquid do manage to clear it out and push them back.
Yeah, I mean, because if you look at these Dignitas carries, how are you actually taking them down in a team fight situation as Team Liquid? Well, you do have some poke, and while Senna's going to keep on scaling and keep on getting souls, you're not actually going to secure a final kill on that unless the play has been made. So that's what makes me think, especially with Cloud Soul, TL should branch out more into playing the map than to trying to play into those team fights, because already these carries from Dignitas can hit and can do so much damage without a lot of threat on them.
I agree. It's just, I think as the game gets longer and longer, the map ends up shrinking because the objectives just become higher and higher priority. We've got Elder Dragon coming up in 2 minutes. It would be very important for TL to get a nice spread and get some deep pushes in the side waves. However, I feel like since River and Biofrost Fake Out have so many good engage tools, it's just difficult for them to be able to push sideways without falling in some sort of way. It's really, to me, about whether or not they can shred the front line. Because they have to be, TL has to be able to shred the front line of Dig to just get access to the carries.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of pressure on Whippo's shoulders because this is one of the things with this Corki build that got so popular. This Corki build is meant to put pressure on backliners and hitting those rockets around the front line, not through the front line. This is not the Infinity Edge auto attack Corki style. These are all the power budget for the build being put into these rockets. And if you don't get that high value chunking out backline members, then the bonus question is, does Bjergsen end this game 0-0-0?
I know, I'm looking down
right now.
Still a little bit of a bounty just based off of that farming from earlier, and hasn't had any kill participation for himself just yet. A lot of the story of this season, who scales, who feels better at this later portion in the game. Looking at those engage tools from Dignitas when you get into skirmishes like this. Death Sentence thrown out from Biofrost, but it's not going to connect.
And we've kind of seen this setup before. It's TL trying to have mid-wave pressure. Dig has control of the river, but they're already posturing a minute before any of the objectives come up. And that's because, really the map has shrunk at this point. Those are the 2 objectives they need to play for.
Yeah, and just having Victor bridges so much of the gap of range, because you would think, okay, Team Liquid, well, yes, they don't have as great engage, but maybe they can land some very good poke damage. You see Hans trying to fish for these snares. They're trying to go for chunks. But Victor controls so much range with the laser that he's been giving back and creating that space back for Dig quite well.
Bjergsen's joined the rest of Team Liquid, does have package, so he'll be able to impact this fight effectively should it break out. 18
that's a good
seconds.
rocket.
Good rocket right before this dragon, Elder, comes up in just a little bit of time, so the fight soon to follow.
That poke lets TL into River, and they have the mid-wave. This is a really tough position for Team Dignitas, but watch River. He's trying to make the best of the bad situation by trying to get behind TL. This is going to be a huge fight.
Ransom vision across the river, a back from Whippo right now. Should have teleport to get back into it.
If you're Team Dignitas, you want to wait about 30 more seconds. You hope this Elder doesn't start because you want the package to wear off from Corki. That's why TL is starting the Elder Dragon right now, because they don't want that package timing to expire.
It's officially pulled out of the pit. They have the firepower needed if they should go for it. Fake God zoning on the off skirts, standing inside the smoke screen, doesn't have vision of the rest of the team. Manages to find his way over to
Really
Blue, who
good
goes
poke.
into Stasis once again. Some healing for the Dignitas squad. The Dragon is continuing to get focus. A good chunk down onto Biofrost and Neo. The flash to follow. That sentence lands onto Ayla. Ayla pops to the back. Makes sure to gobble up Bjergsen to keep him safe here as well. Too many members of Dignitas are nice and low. They can't chunk into this.
Yeah, Faker got chunked out, and Chaos Storm was used. This Baron, or this Dragon
Oh,
is gonna
no,
go to
Neo!
Spike.
And Neo resurrecting at this point of time. River getting knocked up in the pit. It's the jungler versus jungler around the actual objective itself. While Bjergsen wants to get the rocket through. Safeguard flashes in. Cataclysm thrown up. He gets blown up in the middle of the action. Santorin way too low to get into it himself. Now Ayla zoning. Oh, turning it back onto the frog himself. Dignitas coming through and chasing out Team Liquid from the fight.
That Dragon had 52 HP. That after the smite, it could have been stolen with a rocket. Dignitas get it though. River auto-attacks it after they finish it up. In the end, Dignitas win out on the legendary Dragon Dance. Whippo though is gonna
What
have
a
himself.
ridiculous game. He's trying
What
to
are you
buy
doing?
time right now because Elder can transition into Baron. I don't know about this from Whippo. One more poke and he's just blown up.
Look where that bar is on his HB with the Elder buff in
Get
tow.
out of there, Whippo!
Blue's got a death ray to throw.
He is
They're
fast.
just in pursuit.
He is fast.
He
And
is.
the
Even
Cloud
throws
Soul
the...
speed. He's out.
Let's go.
right.
He's gonna have to deal with a teleport here,
teleport.
collapsing though.
Gotta heal.
That's extra speed.
I think he just clear the wave again.
Okay.
Keep farming.
Whippo
Baron is going down.
Whippo is for sure the hero of Team Liquid, but Dignitas, they eventually give up on the chase and they have turned their eyes towards that Baron, with the rest of the team for Team Liquid come poking around.
And not much way for Team Liquid
No.
to be able to come up onto this. Teleport not available for Bubba. He's just still chilling here.
Oh.
On the bot side has Bjergsen to help him out as Fake God does belly away. And there you have it, baby. Red Bull Baron buff number 2.
But it's time for guerrilla warfare from Team Liquid. I think they've done the 5v5 eye contact a couple of times now. Dignitas has narrowly won both of them. Now the Team Dignitas has Baron and Elder. That's the type of play that Kobe was calling to see more of earlier. Like, get creative, send Whippo into sides, shadow him with Bjergsen. Just try and pick off these turrets and keep Dignitas spread out so that they can't combine their front line with their damage dealers.
Oh, Lord, though. There's some time for Team Liquid to wait out, though, with the Baron buff in tow. You've got Elder just expiring within about 30 seconds time. And this game has cracked wide open on a knife's edge with Dignitas pulling through.
All right, looks like the Elder Dragon is about to expire in 20 more seconds, though Team Liquid won't have to deal with that anymore, though they will have to deal with the pushing power from the Baron, and Dig have a lot of cannon waves to work with. 2 minutes left on this Baron, so they can just siege up outside of these inhibitor turrets and continuously throw down the lasers. Again, TL don't have the best engage, so it's hard for them to force and break the siege.
Yeah, but you can also see the cannons that TL has on their team. Like, they're not even letting these Baron waves.
Whippo is
make it
pushing them
occur.
backwards.
Yeah.
The siege is going backwards.
He had enough gold to sell his rapid fire cannon and buy a Bloodthirster. So he's definitely item capped at 41 minutes.
They are also actually keeping the cannon minions off of the towers,
Yeah.
by attacking them so forcibly. So Dig, 3 more minion waves to work with. Blue actually able to draw the attention of Whippo, and Ultimate isn't a very big usage, a big investment from him. You can pretty freely use that, so it shouldn't be too much. Again, though, Neo, no green gun, so no extra range. You can't really walk up to these towers, and the cannon minions have had a hard time hitting as well.
And with still a minute's time left on this Baron buff, you can see the waves pushing towards these side lanes, and Team Liquid will have more difficulty
Teleport
to
flank.
offset. Teleport near Blue, and Blue knows that it's coming, so he sends down the death ray, and he goes, pop, Whippo, I knock you on the head. I want to play this hippo time and get you out of the fight. So Team Liquid know that they are undervalued here. Sentinel crossing along, all of them. Cataclysm into the backline. Ayla is locked inside here. Hansama doing his best to poke from the outskirts, but Fake God has his eye on him. River ends up flashing for the kill. Bjergsen is on his own to try and defend the Team Liquid base here. And Corky in the end is just a little Yordle, baby. Can't do much to go against the power that Dignitas have brought through. Nexus turret number 1, Nexus turret number 2. Bottom up the draft in lock-in, top of game number 1 in our first semifinal.
It's Dignitas, baby. The party bus is fully operational once again. Last year, this team also underestimated. The misfits of the LCS fighting their way above all expectations. And now, after taking down 100 Thieves 2-0, start off this best of 5 versus Team Liquid with a win. What a big one. Man, that last teleport to was so funny. That's exactly why I was talking about blue is the best chance to kill Bwipo. Instantly melted. That is full late game victor.
That clip, that could last a while, I think. Like when your Graves TP flanks. He died in like half a second.
Bwipo really embodied the conversation around top laners this entire game. He's smashing lane. He's getting so much done, pushing towers, running around the map, everything he possibly can.
This is the LCS 10 year. That, even though it's just lock-in, reminded me a lot of like the Huni Lucian flank TP. It's a different top laner, but that energy was really right
For
there.
sure. It's an AD marksman,
Yeah. How long is this Dignitas streak gonna go?
All I know is they
Dig to the moon.
Yep. They prepared for it, brought that party bus in for an oil change. It's working out so well. We'll have to see what else they can do in the series as they continue their momentum and claim game number 1. And while we get ready for game number 2, let's break down their victory with the State Farm Analyst Desk.
Thank you so much, Latigris. A lot of mixed metaphors going on over there. Dignitas is like a party bus to the moon at this point, according to our casters. One thing I know for sure, this analyst desk is starting to look a lot more like a clown class.
We suck.
With the 3 of you that I have up here. What happened? I gave y'all an opportunity to back the Dignitas roster, and here they are leading the series 1-0.
The less you believe in Dig, the better they do.
Exactly.
And we wanted a good series for the fans at home. So we all said TL3-0.
Okay.
I gave myself some breathing room. I said if I was wrong, you can throw me into a pit. I maybe have a chance to survive in the pit.
I've got the PAs working on digging a pit currently for the end of the day.
Yeah, it has to fit all 3.
To be fair, though, the way that this game started looked like all of your predictions were going to be entirely fulfilled. Bwipo, for as much as that final moment, both hilarious and a little unfortunate in his undoing, wow, did he pop off in the top lane early on.
Yeah, this is an incredibly unfortunate play where Bwipo kind of uses fog super well, and then it's just eventually, as you see after the miss, the Cataclysm goes down, and he's just like, you know what? You're stuck in here with me because I am so far ahead. I do so much damage. He actually uses Cataclysm to his favor there. He was so far ahead in the top lane using the push that Graves had, and it really helped them make a lot of plays around the map. Like it opened up so much for Santorin as well.
Yeah, I mean that play for sure will end up in an end of year blooper reel where you come up short on the EQ, and then of course even the Cataclysm actually helps out Grave because the line comes back faster. You're just like us. All right, guys, let's wipe this out of our memory.
And so while it was kind of a shaky start there for Dignitas with that first gank going awry and some early kills going over to the side of Team Liquid, man, the tenacity that they showed to find multiple comeback fights.
Yeah, and I think this is where you can start maybe criticizing Team Liquid a little bit, is in their mid to late game setups here. You have your Hansama alone for some reason, while the rest of the team is in the river. Now the Tahm Kench Center are split up. Tahm Kench doesn't have anyone to save, really. Santorin split from the Tahm Kench, and Dig find a quick 3-0, and they were still a couple thousand gold behind after that, but it showed that Team Liquid really stalled out in the mid game and stopped finding their own plays.
The other impressive thing to me was how well Dignitas were able to play some of these fights in terms of like their communication on an individual level. We talked about Dignitas last year and how team fighting was their strength and their early game was, you know, a remarkable weakness at times. This is kind of an interesting best of both worlds because, you know, River was able to use a lot of lanes that he did have pushing and some of TL's misappropriated lane assignments to kind of still keep up in the game, and then when it came down to these team fights, they were able to execute super well.
Yeah, and then of course, you know, you highlighting how Dignitas is playing it well. From the side of Team Liquid, I think they're not playing their composition well at all. I think trying to chase Dignitas into their fog with a comp that doesn't have much CC to their name, so you're endlessly chasing. And generally speaking, this comp wants to play in a specific spot. They're playing around Baron Vision a lot well, but you want to be able to poke them coming into. You have Corki ulti, you have Senna Q. You can outlive them with Senna heals. You want to play long, drawn-out fights. But a lot of the times it felt like they were chasing into Dig's plan.
We heard the casters talking about that all throughout, right? Jack calling out kind of that idea of the zone control, establishing a zone, controlling it, and preventing your opponent from coming in by throwing out that damage. But definitely in the later moments of the game, you saw some difficulty establishing that.
Yeah, that gold graph is what I wanted to point out, because normally when a team has a 5,000 gold lead and the other team comes back and wins, it's usually like this big moment where you throw your lead. But it was actually a slow decline because Team Liquid was not fulfilling their win conditions. There's a time where they 4-man Bwipo in the side lane, and usually when you do that, you cut to somewhere else on the map, and it's like, well, of course, losing a turret while they do it, but, you know, Bjergsen had reset, the other people weren't getting anything done. It was just a free kill, and that seemed to always happen.
Yeah, and the praise to Dignitas here is that, like, when Team Liquid messed up once, right? Dignitas took full vision of their red side jungle. We did the same around Dragon objective. So you're right, it felt like a slow decline simply because now Dignitas were in a powerful position, and so Team Liquid fought hard to get into that space where they can poke them down, maybe at least find a way of engaging. It never really came to fruition.
It's also a credit to, I think, again, to bring it back to like what River brings to this team. I thought he did a really good job of mitigating a lot of what TL's early game was in terms of, okay, he did recognize like, hey, Victor has a push in mid at this point. Let's try to clear out all that topside vision that Bwipo completely lit up on their side of the map. Like, there was still a lot of small things that River and the Dignitas team did to keep themselves in the game enough to the point where they could end up capitalizing on TL mistakes.
Exactly. And so, once again, thankfully for Team Liquid, this is a best of 5, so they can see this as good practice ground for this new composition. Remember, new patch, so they're literally rolling out both Senna and Tahm Kench when they got buffed. So like things like that replay you showed where Senna's getting jumped on in mid lane, but also their 3v3 in River is just a complete loss. Maybe they came out with the wrong understanding of like who would win that 3v3 or executed it. So like things like that in a new composition, you're like, okay, maybe we take that on the back burner for the next game.
Right, and there's quite possibly a conversation around Team Liquid later down the line, you know, post-lock-in about their approach to this tournament, right? Because they've already been so experimental with their roster itself, bringing in that Senna Tahm Kench. Obviously, they were buffed, and we expected to see them, but to pull them out in game 1, they're definitely trying things, right? Not everything to success. Within that, though, that discussion, as we hop to game number 2, now having taken the loss, TL selects blue, there will be no substitutions. And that was one of the conversations and questions we had at the top of the day.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, this tells me that TL are looking at the game and they're like, it's just execution errors.
Yeah.
And I would agree, actually. I liked the TL composition. I think it could have easily won this game.
And on top of that, you want the team that you're playing to have the ability to adapt. You don't want to be like, oh, you try something new, it failed. Get the new guys in.
Put
there.
him on the bench.
Put him on. Throw him on Mark Z's bench right there. So like, I think it is a good decision. Thank goodness it wasn't me. But it's a good decision
somewhere.
overall to give them that chance because it's a longer series.
I kind of just lost my train of thought.
Read the prompter.
Do you have any final thoughts? You have no final thoughts? All right, I don't need to have thoughts in my
it.
brains. I just need to have words in front of me. Game 1 in the books, Dignitas lead the series. And as we head into our break, we're going to take a look behind the scenes of their upset win from last week against 100 Thieves. Check it out. It's you!
It wasn't me.
Stop
It
dropping
wasn't me.
Now say stun gun.
The purple gun.
Stun gun.
Purple.
The stun.
Stun gun.
CC gun. Oh.
CC gun.
Doesn't know gun. I think he doesn't know the rope gun. Aphelios stun can go fight.
I know. Yeah.
Nice.
Okay, so
showing it back.
Aphelios is mid. Look here, look here.
Okay.
Come.
Yeah. Next to Nora. Killing front here, Stabas. Next to no place.
Yeah.
Close.
I kill them all. Go.
No flash. We can finish. We can finish.
Look at Zoe.
End up. GG.
Nice.
Nice shot!
We won 100 what the?
We did
How to
it!
him?
We did it!
Oh.
Wow, we won after 0-7 game.
Nice shot of Neil.
Good job,
Nice.
Oh!